Okay. All right. Well, we will. I'll just go ahead and start, and whoever joins us, and we'll do our thing. First of all, thank you all for being here. I am so excited about this class. Um, I've been learning a lot myself, and I just think that this information is vital to what we need to know in our community. I am so excited tonight to have Barbie as a guest. She's going to speak with what she knows. She is definitely more of an expert of what tonight is all about. Tonight's class is going to be all about how low income and race intersects with food insecurity, and in the city of St. Louis, which is our community. So I would like to start with the PowerPoint. I will start with that. As I said tonight, can everybody see this? Yes? I can't see you.
We cannot see it yet, Carol. And
okay, hold on.
Okay, and once you're showing it, if you can just kind of tell us a little bit about what we're looking at in the interest of Derek and Sue.
Absolutely.
Okay, super.
You got it.
There you go.
Okay, so I am not, just so you all know, I am not going to just go out of this and make it one big screen, because last week we saw that we were having issues with getting back. So I'm sorry you're going to see the other side of this, but I just don't want to stop the flow of conversation, if at all possible. So tonight is about intersectionality of income, race, and food security in the city of St. Louis, which really is our neighborhood. I would like to give a reminder of what last week is, because a few things from last week really is important for us to remember as we go forward in this class. But before we do that, there we go. I would like to go with a scripture that I really love, which is Isaiah 1:17. Learn to do what is right, promote justice, give the oppressed reason to celebrate. Take up the cause of the orphan, defend the rights of the widow. And I really take that as just really bringing forward of the call that God has for every one of us to help the people who are in need and help those people that are in our community. And with that, and like defending therefore their rights and promoting justice is everything that we want, for that it's all inclusive. This is everyone. So as we go forward with tonight, this is what I would like for all of us to keep in our mind. It's just the call that God has called on each and every one of us to help everyone in our community. So I want to go forward. Last week I shared this graph. This is a graph. I know it says races in St. Louis, but this is actually in Carondelet. It came from the city of St. Louis. And this is Carondelet neighborhood. And here are the percentages that we have of everyone living within the Carondelet neighborhood. As you can see, it is like pretty much half and half, black and white. And we do have other races and cultures that are living within Carondelet neighborhood. So really, if you see that, that's definitely more than half of white living within the neighborhood. So that's something I would like just for you to keep in your mind and remember. Another thing that really does affect what we're going to talk about with food security tonight when Barbie talks is that the median household income in Carondelet is roughly $33.5 thousand a year. And then I did break that down, and this is as the end of 2019. The median earnings for male is around 25.5 thousand. Females, their median earnings are 20.7. I would like for everyone to keep in mind that the poverty level is considered $24,000 a year. And in Carondelet, the poverty level is at 21.8%. To be considered middle class would be 55,000. So this brings me to, at this moment, I'm going to stop the share. I would love to invite Barbie Fleck to give us a little conversation about everything that she does and what she sees in the city of St. Louis when it comes to food insecurities. And Barbie, thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me. I am glad to be a part of all of this. So, when we first moved to St. Louis, that was back, or when we first came to St. Louis, 2007, 2008, when we moved here, the big question, that you always hear is, where did you go to high school? And a better question would be to ask what zip code you live in. Because the thing about this, we always thought it was weird because it was like when we were in Texas living in an urban area, the question was always, where'd you go to high school? But that was because it told you what town you lived, what part of the mid-cities you lived in. All those mid-cities that are between Fort Worth and Dallas, there's like, I don't know, 15 probably. And so it told an area of where you were from. But when we came to St. Louis, what we quickly learned is that a better question would be, what zip code did you grow up in? What zip code did you go to school in? Because both of them are based, both of the questions, the high school and the zip code question, are based in racism. The zip code that a person lives in, the high school that one attended, tells the person whether that's asking if you lived in a black or white neighborhood. Did you live in a poverty neighborhood? Did you grow up in 63108, which is Central West End, or 63112, which is north of Delmar, or 63105, which is Clayton, or the Van Ventnor, or in all of those areas in there, 63113 or 115. And even more designated is which side of Jefferson you live on if you live in the 63118 zip code. Because if you live west of Jefferson, that means you lived in a predominantly black neighborhood. If you lived east of Jefferson, you lived in Benton Park. So it's St. Louis, we all know, is made up of extremely divisive lines. We all know the Delmar Divide. North of that line is a high percentage of people of color, high unemployment, low income, high dropout rate, high gun violence, higher rates of emergency room visits, and a shorter life expectancy. And this is important because racism is a large part of poverty in urban areas. We laugh at the high school question, but it's really not funny. It overlooks the reality. So you all know that I work in the food ministry and that I help people who are food insecure. And what food insecurity means is that they're without reliable access to enough affordable, nutritious food. Organic food is expensive. You don't go, if you've got $200 on your food stamps, you don't go in and buy all the organic stuff. You buy what you can, and you buy the things that are going to fill your family, their bellies, and make them be able to sleep at night without worrying about whether they were going to wake up hungry or not. So we have a lot of organic opportunities. We have a partnership with Whole Foods where we offer the vegetables and fruits, meats, and other foods that are close to expiration date. And we also partner with the local synagogue who grows fresh organic produce, brand new, not stale, not about to expire, but fresh out of the garden, strictly for Trinity Food Ministry. So, one of the things that you have to think about for the people in the area of Carondelet, let's just take Carondelet. You live over in the area of Michigan, over close to the church, and you need to go to the grocery store, and you don't have a car. So how do you get there? You ride the bus or you walk. How many people do you see crossing over that bridge over 55 there with Schnucks bags in their hands? So how many grocery bags can you, one single person, how many can you carry, and for how long, how far? This is a really big question, because if you have to walk a mile to get to a grocery store, it's not that big of a deal. If you've got a car, you're zip and you're there. But if you have to walk to get to, you're living in a virtual food desert, in the reality of a food desert. So that's just like Aldi's in the they used to be in the West End. That's not Central West End, but that's the West End, which is not the same. So they used to be just off of Page, just off of North Kings Highway. 4 years ago, they moved to Delmar and to North Kings Highway, which is a busy corner, and I'm sure benefited them greatly, dollar-wise and profit-wise. However, they left a large area of the West End in a food desert. There are no other grocery stores around there. So people are suddenly left with no ability to walk to get to the grocery store, unless they want to walk several times a week. So, and a food desert is an urban area which has low access to supermarkets or a grocery store. One of the problems that I have with some of my volunteers is they pack these bags so full of food, and someone's carrying this heavy bag or this box full of food, because we give away quite a bit, and how far can they carry it? We find, they come back and they say, well, I can't take that, I can't take that, I can't take that. So they end up picking and choosing what they really want, or what they feel like they can't be without, because they can't carry it all. It's just simple. So you got food insecurity, you got food deserts. So what is the number one thing that would make this better, would make this world easier for the people who live in these food deserts and who have all these issues that create food insecurity? They need jobs. They need a livable wage. They need a wage that can actually pay for their groceries, so that, and maybe even buy them a car. Who knows? Whatever. Today, a lady came in, and I haven't seen her very much during the pandemic, but she has a household of 10. She's got herself and her spouse. She's got 4 adult children, and then like 5 babies or 4 grandbabies that are living with her, and they have been for quite a while. So that's a whole lot of food. Now, she's lucky she's got a car, but she was very excited today because she said, I won't be seeing you for a while. And I said, why not? And she said, because I'm going back to work. She said, I'm so excited. She said, I'm going back to work. They called me back and I'm going. And so she's excited about going back to work. Unemployment is difficult for a lot of people. They have these huge gaps in their employment record. Maybe something happened 20 years ago where they were stupid and they got caught. And if they're a Black man and they got caught, even as a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, the price that they pay is a lot higher than a person than, say, my own sons or grandsons might pay. So unemployment is an extremely important part of this thing of the ability, the opportunity to be able to work, because a record will keep you from being able to work. A lot of places won't hire you. So, and it's also linked to poor health, higher rates of death. The jobs are essential for not only bringing resources into the household, but for just providing for the family. Do you remember when St. Louis raised the minimum wage to what did they raise it to? $11 or $12 now? I can't remember. They were going to raise it on incremental levels.
They raised it to $10.30 an hour.
Okay, so then the state came back and said, "Oh, you can't do that. That puts a burden on all the rural areas." So I don't know how that was actually computed in their heads, but whatever. So they said, you can't do that. Well, the city of St. Louis said, yes, we can. And they continued to pay their minimum wage employees $10 an hour. The zoo continued to pay $10 an hour. They refused to break it back down to $7 and whatever it is. So the difference that this makes, and just as a little short story here, there was a woman who you could tell she worked for the zoo. She came in her little khaki shorts and her little khaki shirt with her green tags and everything. And she would come to the food pantry once a month. And she came for at least a year. And I know for a fact it was paying $7 and like 80 cents. I forgot what it was, but it was under $8, right around $8 an hour. When the city raised the minimum wage, she stopped coming. And I haven't seen her since then. Now, maybe she got another job, maybe she didn't, but I believe that $2 an hour made enough difference in her single life that she was able to, because she's just a single person, she was able to provide what the food that she wanted, not what someone was willing to give to her, but what she could actually, what she liked. And so that's a big deal. It's just like the woman today that was so excited about being able to work. It make that employment thing is an extremely important part of this intersectionality between the income, the race, and food insecurity. And so it's just Charles, I can just barely see that. Let's see. Yeah, $2 an hour is a whole lot. That's a big difference in how much someone is able to afford. Let's see, I had another story.
Just real quick, as a percentage, I mean, that's over 25% increase, isn't it? Going
Yeah.
from like 750 to 10, that's huge.
Yeah. And so it's, I work with a whole lot of guys because we do the meals also. And the guys come in and they come to get the meals and, they're not working. They're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. One guy today, as a really happy story, he's I think 69 years old. He had never done his Social Security. Plus, he's blind in one eye. He is missing an eye. He retired. He actually has a retirement income. However, something happened, and I don't know what the personal story is. He's a really private guy, but something happened that caused him to be homeless. He has been homeless for, I don't know, the last, I've known him for about 6 years. And as far as I know, he's been homeless all that time. He did not know that he could claim his Social Security, not only claim his Social Security, but go all the way back to the time when he was 65 to get that back pay, and also to be able to claim disability. He, on Monday, will be moving into St. Raymond's apartments, an apartment of his own, after all this time and all this money. Now he's a pretty straight guy. He's fairly frugal. He's not. He doesn't have an alcohol. He doesn't have addictions that I have ever been made aware of, and normally you can tell. But he has nothing like that. He's just, he loves coffee, he loves food, and he loves being around people. And so that's how I came to know him back before we actually shut down because of the pandemic. But he is actually moving into his own apartment on Monday. And so he will no longer be food insecure. He will no longer have to worry about where his meals are coming from. I don't know if we'll see him anymore or not. I have a feeling that we will, just because. he likes being around people, but I may not see him anymore, and I'm sad about that, but I'm extremely happy that he is going to be healthy and okay and inside.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
yeah, it really is. But anyway, that's basically, these things are really important. Um, the another guy that we were able to get into an apartment. He lives in the Council Tower senior living now. He had a problem that happened when he was 20 years old. And it was, I think that he had run out on an apartment or something, whatever it was, but he hadn't paid it. He owed $2,000 to whatever this debt was. He's 70 years old now, and this was still on his record. Now, I don't know how long things stay on your record or how you get rid of stuff like that, but it took a great deal of effort and a lot of people helping him to get that expunged and to get it taken care of. But that's the kind of thing that happens to, especially to people of color. People of color who are low income or unemployed, no income. It is an unfair, unjust, and I've been on a rant and rave over the last week or so about unjust things, but that's just one more. There's a barrel full of unjust things that happen constantly, and we do not always realize or understand. But just anyone, I don't, that's basically my story. That's basically what I deal with, how I help people. I don't know if that addressed all the things that Carol was wanting, but
Barbie, it looks like we lost Carol and Charles. That this is one of their
We did.
challenges, is being on Zoom and having them drop out. So I'm sure they'll be back. But
okay.
in the
Do you
meantime,
have any questions or anything?
I wanted to ask you, Barbie, what you think about, I mean, this is going to sound like probably kind of stupid, but I'm just curious. I think about, when you're talking about people having to, walk, or like the issues about food and transportation, and the way food deserts are partly a function of transportation systems and stuff like that, right? That connection between those things. It made me think about the, kind of the corner store concept, and how a lot of food deserts do have these stores in them, but it's like the only stuff you can get is, like not very nutritious.
Chips.
Yeah.
Chips, bologna,
Yeah.
milk, bread, peanut butter maybe, a lot of candy,
Yeah. So I wonder if you have thoughts about, like, is that a public policy thing? Like, is there a way that if there was some sort of incentive for those kind of stores to carry more healthy food, would that help with some of these issues that people have where they can't necessarily travel a long way,
Well, I think affordability becomes an issue there.
Right.
And I know the corner store just up about 2 blocks from my house, and it's it's where people go to get cigarettes, where they go to get candy, chips, breakfast for some of the kids. Because it's right across the street from the elementary school, from Frable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there would be that much incentive for them to carry healthier foods, because they're not in it for the health. They're in it to make money, and you don't make money off of those healthy things because they sit on the shelves. If kids because the main people that are going in there are kids and teenagers and all, young people, and they're not buying healthy foods.
kale.
Yeah, kale.
I wonder, Barbie.
Even
riffing
Even
on
Whole Foods does.
riffing on this, thinking about how we have the Michigan Market kitty corner from St. Paul's, wondering about maybe if you could dream about how we could partner with such a place for people who are certainly walking out of there with groceries. What would be on your wish list?
Well, I know a while ago they wanted us to the guy that owned the store was willing to, and they're connected. That store and the store over here in Gravois Park are a family connection. But when we were doing the barbecues, he wanted to provide the meat for the barbecues. In fact, he's the one who told us don't serve pork hot dogs because the people can't eat the pork, that they would come over to eat if there were beef hot dogs, and that if we needed beef hot dogs, he would give the hot dogs to us. So, it's there's ways to, we'd try to buy ice and different things like that. And he was always like, no, take it. You're feeding the neighborhood. And so there's ways to partner with him. I'll think about it. Need to go over and talk to him.
I want to just name that why I haven't done that. And that is that I have been told from other sources that there are things that go on in the market that concern me. And so I will not go into detail here, but, and that's why I haven't done it. So
Yeah.
just so you know, but if it could be done in a way that's not endorsing other activities, I'd be.
Right.
Yeah. So I know a couple of people I can talk to find out about those things. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Barbie, I love that you named like the employment as such a integrated issue with food, because I will freely admit, I don't know whether I've ever told you this, but I've told, I think, Rebecca and Scott before, but when we lived out in rural Missouri, we saw rural poverty and we saw rural food deserts, but
Yes.
I had very, very little empathy for the homeless and those people who were kind of the street people that we see in the city, because I just didn't understand. I didn't understand that, when you don't have a stable address, it's awfully hard to, get somebody to hire you, or when you have a felony, or when you're addicted, or when you're, got untreated mental illness, all those things. And so like when we moved downtown as, middle class, pretty upper middle class people into the Loft District, loved it there. But man, that was also a great lesson for us to see these people all around us who were in poverty, and to kind of learn, that I didn't really know anything.
Well, Carol probably has this information, but it is said that any number of us, even those of us who are middle income, are 3 paychecks away from being in serious trouble. And far too many people they're only 1 paycheck away. They miss 1 paycheck. They get sick. They have a flat tire. I heard 2 different people today tell me that they were fired because one was a stupid reason, so that doesn't count. But the other one was he missed work because he was sick, and he got fired. So there's, people on the street who are willing to work for pay where they're just paid cash at the end of the day. They're a dime a dozen. And so if they don't show up, they're not working the next day. So it's it's a serious business. And here's another thing. That little box that used to be on I don't know who's filled out an employment application lately, but there used to be a box that said, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Yep. And you had the opportunity to check it and then explain. Well, the city's all, woohoo, we took that off. You don't have to do that in the city anymore. So guess what happens? You're not asked that question anymore. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? But they're going to backtrack on you. And guess what happens? It pops up and they say, sorry.
Right.
You don't get an opportunity. Removing that little box from the application means that you lost all your opportunities to explain that when I was 18 years old, I blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And now I'm 50. I don't do that stuff and haven't done that stuff. And I've had a clean record ever since then. So they just consider that you have not told them the whole truth, but you didn't have an opportunity to tell them the truth. So it's little things like that. Those are the little tiny things that complicate people's lives on a moment to moment basis. And we just do not realize these things.
Carol did an overview on just like transit issues last week too. And that, as I'm sure you well know, I mean, even if you have a car, you're right. If you have a flat tire, you may lose your job. If you don't have a car and you have to try and figure out how to get to your job on a bus or to the grocery store on a bus, you're in trouble in this city.
Oh, and a 20-minute drive can take an hour and a half on a bus.
Yes.
So you have, just increased your time exponentially of what it will take to get you to and from. And you're all at the subject of, oh, guess what? The bus got there early today. And I don't care what the schedule says, the bus does leave early sometimes. So it's just it's the reality of it. And a little bone of contention here, during the polar vortex, Kansas City's buses were free. You could ride. Not ours.
But not in St. Louis.
Do you know how much it costs to ride a bus? The Metro?
Well,
$2 and
right?
$2.50 for 2 hours. You go to the doctor's office, you go to the Social Security office, you go to wherever you have to go,
Right.
and you are 1 minute late, you have to buy another ticket.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, Memphis, you can ride you can buy a $3 ticket and ride all day long. It doesn't matter how many times you get on or off. Doesn't matter whether you ride it once in the morning, once at night. It costs $3. That's your day ticket. Not Memphis, New Orleans. Sorry.
Oh.
It's one of those music towns. One of those river towns. Anyway, it just, you can ride the trolley, you can ride the train, you can ride the bus, you can ride anything. Now, if you get a $2 ticket, that is just a one bus ticket.
Right.
$2.50 or $3, maybe $3 will buy you a transfer. You can ride the train in a 2-hour period of time. So even those type of things are just, life is complicated if you are poor. In St. Louis, especially, I guess anywhere, but especially here.
You hit it right on the nose.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
Is that, Barbie, thank you so much. Wealth of
You are
information.
welcome.
Is there anyone who has any questions for Barbie before we continue on? Please feel free. Going once.
I have
Yes.
a question. I do.
Okay.
Barbie, what can we do to try to bring about change or somehow make that transportation issue more bearable for the majority of people who are using public transportation? They are poor people. There
Yes.
are a few, I know that there are a few commuters from the suburbs to downtown that may be using the Metrolink, or, before we had Metrolink, they were riding the bus.
Right.
They were taking the express buses, and there's some of that happening, but for the most part, it is poor people. And how can we lobby? I guess it's the bi-state transportation. Like, is there not something as a denomination that we can do? You know, if there's been anything tried, like,
I don't know. I don't know what the situation with the metro is and how connected it is to the city. I believe that the five, whatever that, like the one that goes between Illinois and Missouri, that one's a little bit different, but the metro that is actually in the St. Louis area, I know that they're working on new lines. And I know that there are some efforts being made by some of, by state, yeah.
yeah, it is. It's a bi-state development agency.
Yeah, and I know that they're working on that there are some groups that are working on justice issues in the transportation part of it, but I haven't heard from them lately, and I can't remember exactly who was doing it. But I know that it was one of the primary concerns before the pandemic, before COVID, and I would imagine that it is still on their agenda now. I just have been.
Is it Interfaith Partnership maybe that you're thinking of? That
maybe.
I mean, that seems like a group that could really bring all of the, in an ecumenical way, bring.
Yeah. I think it's the metropolitan, let's see. Yeah, it has to do with the, maybe the metropolitan clergy. Rebecca, do you know about MCU? If they,
I haven't seen anything specifically about transit in a long time. I feel like, I don't think there's anything afoot with that. I'm hoping once we have our mayor in place and Reform STL is moving, which is a really strong coalition that's been is highly motivated, that some of these reforms will start happening. But yeah, I have not heard anything currently.
All right.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Barbie, could you tell us just like briefly kind of what volume of people you see at Trinity, or how many meals a week do you serve, or how, just give us an idea of the scope of what you're doing.
Right now we serve basically 60 meals during the week, and it depends entirely on the weather. How today was a beautiful day, I kept thinking everybody was going to show up, but because Rebecca made mention of the fact that it being the first of the month, that has a huge effect. A lot of people get their food stamps or their disabilities or their Social Security around the first of the month. So, but normally we serve about 60 to 70 meals during the week, and we serve 75 to 85 on Sundays.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and that's the meal program. As far as groceries, in 2000, before the pandemic, we served right at 10,000 individuals in the year. Wow. 2019. This past year, we served about 7,000. So it was a drop, but that was because we dropped one day. Instead of serving 3 days a week, we're only serving twice. And then the other was that the PPEs, the pandemic relief helped a lot of people.
Right.
So in fact, we still haven't seen some of them return. So I don't know. One could hope that there was enough money there that they were able to make it last for a while. So
yeah.
I have a question, Mr. Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Where do we stand on Meals on Wheels in this city? Do we have it?
On what?
Meals on Wheels. It's where people deliver meals to.
I don't know.
They
During
do.
the pandemic, they shut down.
Right.
The one that, yeah, I mean, they shut down. How did they do that? I don't understand that, but they did. They shut it down.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
I haven't seen that they've started back up yet or not. They're not working out of Trinity yet. So, and they were.
I checked today and they have not started back yet.
That is,
Yeah.
'Cause I think they're doing over in Illinois, some places, at least I think in Belleville they are.
Yeah. It's
that is a travesty.
yeah, it really is. Barbie, I like to ask what type of foods do you have in the food pantry where people can come and shop? Uh, what types of foods are available?
Well, we're not a choice pantry, although we are leaning more towards that during the pandemic. But we have the basic bags that are packed already, pre-packed. There's potatoes and onions and rice and macaroni and cheese, can of chili, depends on how many people the bag's made for. Vegetables, canned fruit, and then we put in some form of fresh fruit, or oranges or bananas. And if it's a larger bag, then there's spaghetti and spaghetti sauce. Then have whatever we have from Whole Foods that week, and one never knows. Sometimes it's 5 boxes of kale, sometimes it's 500 containers of lettuce. So, but this week we had a lot of meat, and so that was really amazing and wonderful. So we had some of the chicken that we ended up sharing with St. Paul's because it was packaged in a way that we can really use it. But I probably got 60 whole fryers. So people have a choice of either a whole turkey, or if it's a smaller family, then we had these boxes of meat, already prepared meatloaf that you just gotta thaw. And we have bacon. Normally we have fruit and dairy. We didn't have any dairy this week, but we normally have pastries and bread. We also received from, there's the organist who plays for St. Francis out in Eureka. She used to work for BJC West. Well, she ended up when she retired, she decided that she would go around to all the BJC kitchens, and that she would pick up whatever their about to be expired products were. Like today, she brought us a bunch of frozen milk and a bunch of bread. At St. Paul's UCC in Afton on Sunday brought us about 10 boxes of shelf-stable milk in varying sizes, small ones, all of this stuff. It's really rather amazing, all the number of things that we get. Abundance becomes a problem. You got to figure out where you're going to put it all.
And how many people did you say a week? How often do you do this? Where they can
we
come
do pantry twice a week
twice
on
a week.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And about how many
And
people come through?
I'm sorry.
About how many people come through each day?
Today we only had about 15 households.
Okay.
And that totaled about 25. Most of them were singles. I had a couple of big families, but that was it. So on a day when it's pretty and the weather is decent, then we will get, I may be serving people for 2.5 hours. The line gets pretty long, and we may serve 100 people, 100 individuals, and 40 households. So
Wow.
and that's in a 2-hour period.
That's great.
That is great.
Hey, Barbie.
Even with quite a bit.
Hey, Barbie.
Ma'am?
How much food
Yes.
are you giving to a household? Like, is it like a 3-day supply, or, like how long is it meant to last the household?
Historically, Trinity has always been an emergency food pantry. So whatever we give is to help tide people over between those thin moments. The thing that I strive to over the past is to.
Can't hear that.
Yeah, I think she's having trouble.
Yeah. Well, we will wait for her to get back just in case. Is everybody still hearing me? Because our internet's been crazy.
Yep.
Yes? Okay. So we'll wait
Carol,
for.
can I jump in for just a second? One of the
Sure.
things that I just wanted to add related to like food insecurity across the whole region, you know, Barbie is serving based on total volunteerism, from the people that are working it to the people, you know, to the food she's serving. But you know, one of the great things that I think the federal government did is the federal government for many, many decades has undergirded the national school breakfast and lunch programs. But right now, virtually every student in the country is eating breakfast and lunch at school for free if they want to. And so that's been a great help, I think. And even like for our virtual students, we've allowed them to pick up meals for 7 days a week for any kid that's enrolled in our district. But that's going to end at some point. And so I don't know how we get off of this onto what was the old normal. You know, and right now we're just through basically the end of this school year with the free meals, and then we'll be back to fully paid for everybody. But it will be interesting to see how all that plays out. Looks like maybe Barbie's back.
Yes, Barbie. You went out on us. I didn't know if there were,
Yes.
Angela, was there anything you didn't hear?
Probably, but I'm so glad I have fiber optics. I can't imagine how I would be able to be on at all if it were not for fiber optics.
Well, Barbie,
Irritating.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You hit so many points that I was going to hit tonight. And of course, Charles, twice tonight, Charles, you've already told some things. No, that's great. I love it. I just love this.
Hey, Barbie, I didn't hear your answer beyond Trinity is an emergency food pantry.
Oh,
So is
yeah.
it like a 3-day supply of food?
It is basically, it's more now than it used to be. Used to be, it was very minimal. But right now, like the family of 10 that came today, she had 6 really large bags, heavy bags of food. And plus then she got to choose the other things that she wanted, whether she wanted kale or more oranges or the milk or the cabbage, because I forgot cabbage is one of the things that we do also.
Okay.
So she was able to choose, you know, things that she wanted on top of those things. So she walked away with probably 10 bags of stuff. And plus I had a table set outside of all the things that not just everybody likes, like beets or carrots or beans, but some people do. And so it was free choice and people were able to grab up whatever they wanted as much as they wanted, especially carrots. Nobody took carrots.
Wait, nobody took carrots, but they took the kale and the beets.
Yep.
Good for you.
Yep.
That seems odd to me.
Definitely odd.
Well, oh, what about the almond milk? What about the almond milk? Oh, no, okay.
That's Rebecca.
We do
okay.
have almond. I didn't have almond milk today. I had macadamia milk.
Okay. Well, to keep going on with everything that was just talked about and talking about food insecurity, there are a few things more that the city of St. Louis really has put out to be aware of what really is a barrier to healthy food consumption and access. Besides, we've already heard geographic access, lack of a vehicle, lack of transportation, transit. It's also can be expensive for transit. If they're having to walk, you heard that, how long it could be, how much they would have to carry. Pricing of food, as we all know. So it's a lot easier to buy junk food because it's cheaper. It's also less expensive for them to sometimes go to White Castle, things like that. Another thing is cultural relevancy, which I honestly had not thought about. But depending upon what type of culture they come from and the food that they do have access to, how familiar are they with that food item to even begin to know about purchasing that? Is the food culturally significant to them? And another thing that really stuck out to me, and what you did name, Barbie, was like the pork hot dog. That could be a cultural thing, like they can't eat that. So they're right on target there. Cooking tools and knowledge too was another thing that they have here. Do they know how to cook it? Do they have the tools to even cook? Whatever might be available to them. So also nutritional knowledge. Will that food benefit their health? Even with that question, even if they know it doesn't benefit their health, it could be a food that they can only afford. So those were just some things that I wanted to point out. And Barbie, you did a really good job of really integrating a lot of that with what you were saying. I want to get in.
Couple good comments in the chat, honey.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. Partnering with Whole Foods is an educational tool also. Absolutely it is. Share recipes with people and they're willing to try new things. Oh, Barbie, that's awesome. So Barbie, I wonder, do you even like have copies of like different type of recipes that are available for people maybe when they come, or no?
No, not necessarily. It's just a matter of talking with people.
Okay.
Like when I got like 4 cases of eggplant from Bowood Nursery down the street with Osage Cafe.
Yeah.
They weren't using the eggplant anymore, so they gave it away. And just coming up with crazy recipes for that. And people were willing. I got rid of all of the eggplant.
That's awesome.
Bok choy is another thing that people looked at and went, I don't know what that is. I don't want to use it. But if I gave them a recipe, they were willing to, okay, I'll do that. And if they can grill or fry it, everybody's cool.
Yeah.
They're good.
I like the idea that you give out can openers if they need them. Great idea. See, these are things that I honestly had not thought about myself before when I was going through all of this. Yes, Scott?
Well, on that thing, when we're doing meals, sometimes we don't have, like we've run out of the regular stuff that people can just like take, and it's already got the spoons and whatever in it,
Yeah.
And then we really, you have to ask, like, are you in it, like, do you have access to a microwave or stuff, questions like that before you give out the stuff, because they may not even be able to use it depending on what they have access to.
But that's the point right there. You ask. If you just assume, then that's toxic. If you ask, that's relationship. So it's all about building relationship. How do we build relationships with the people that we are trying to serve? Because we're not there just to assume that we know what they want. Ask them what they want. Yeah. And give them choices. I've got all sorts of choices.
Barbie, that was one of the first things in Whitney Rice's community listening webinar is, ask. Talk to people in your community. Just ask. Start the conversation.
That is exactly right. That's like Haywood Street Congregation in Asheville, North Carolina. Their motto is, it's always about relationship. everything we do is about building relationship. And whether it's with the corner store people, who knows what we could change, uh, like the nuns in the Sister Act, change the
Right,
neighborhood. Who knows what we could do? We just got to get
right.
out there. I love Whitney because she uses the big E all the time. She's really like in there. Get out there, talk to them, ask.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm going to share my screen now. Just so that you
Uh-oh.
It burns. It burns.
Okay, we don't want to do that. So, I just a little bit more data. I hope it's not boring for everyone. Data is good for me. It really gets me to really use my head and use theological imagination. So I hope it doesn't bore you. Unequal opportunities and barriers, which we just talked about, and access to healthy food result in poor health and low food access in the city of St. Louis. I think that as of everything of what you've just heard Barbie kindly share with us, that you can see that. I think you can really see the intersectionality of the low income. You can see the intersectionality of poor jobs, poor health already, the also as in how much they make. I mean, so all of this, like all of this intersects. Transit, that was the other word I was looking for. What type of transportation they have. This all intersects into it. And when you're poor, all of these things are huge. And so when you're not poor, it's hard, it's easy to forget that. So I thought this was really interesting. At the end of 2019, 26.8% residents have food insecurity in the city of St. Louis. That's roughly 85.5 thousand residents in the city of St. Louis that have an issue with hunger and insecurity. More than 1 in 5 children are food insecure in Missouri. I thought that was huge. In the city of St. Louis, they're saying that it's 2.5 children. So the statistics of low incomes and low access and low vehicle access in St. Louis, putting them all three together, having them all intersect together. White residents, there's for the whole intersectionality of low income, access, and vehicles, it's 30.9% in the city. Black residents are 62.7%.
Mm.
In the city of St. Louis, I just want to stress that, the city of St. Louis. What Charles has already shared with us, students who qualified for free or reduced lunch by the end of 2018 in the city of St. Louis, 88.8%.
So those were the kids that were home during COVID with no
Yes.
food, who were
Yes.
getting, their breakfast and lunch at school.
Yep.
Right.
Angela, so glad you thought of that. Absolutely.
So one of the things we've done, Angela, and I know that the city district was trying to do the same thing, is we made kits available on a weekly basis for families to pick up. Through the school, we're not able to serve adults, but for anybody that's enrolled, they could come and pick up a meal kit. Some districts were trying to deliver. That's a harder thing, but obviously because of all the things that Carol and Barbie have mentioned related to transportation issues, sometimes if we aren't able to take it to them, they aren't going to get it either.
I know that that's true. When I worked at a congregation that had a food pantry that was open every day, and we got calls from time to time of people who just had no way to get to the food pantry. They would ask, can you deliver it to me? I can't get it. And our volunteer, like, we didn't really have a formal way to do that. like that wasn't something we normally did, but
Yeah.
you know, we always found a way to make that happen somehow.
One of the things, if I can chime in on that, Angela, that we found in St. Charles is, we think St. Charles is obviously a pretty prosperous community as compared to St. Louis, but our district has the highest free and reduced rate in the county over there. And so what we did is we didn't feel like it was worth trying to deliver on our own, but we had a couple of churches that reached out and said, how can we help? And so we let them be the delivery agents. And so I think it's not that we all need to do the same thing. It's we all need to find something that we can do. And so that was just a real relief to the district to say, okay, if somebody can't get there, we have a way to get them their food.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Charles. One more thing. I was going to add another policy here. I decided not to because I actually read this other policy and I think that it is not relevant to this discussion tonight. It was going to be the Board Bill 66, but it is not relevant as in what I thought it was going to be. So I want to talk about the SNAP program that we have, which is what you see here, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistant Program, better known as food stamps. So some problems that can happen with this. And I have seen it before because I have personally had to have food stamps way back when. And I was a divorced woman. And if a parent cannot have dependents, say like on their income tax, and they cannot be their dependents, they cannot have food stamps or they get them lessened. They can have them, but they have them lessened. So that affects food insecurity for people. So they're already poor, they need assistance. And then if for some reason one spouse or the other, whoever is having them as dependents, the other one is going to have it lessened or maybe not be able to have it. So I wanted to bring that as an awareness. I almost didn't catch this, but I think this is something to be aware of. I have seen so many single parents, especially single moms, and they're not being able to feed their children. And having this part here lessened for them or taken away from them to where it's not very much, it's devastating. So I just wanted to bring that as an awareness also. Okay, I would like to talk about social implications of food insecurity. I think that
Carol?
Yes.
Can I point out one thing about SNAP?
Yes.
There's a lot of essentials that you cannot buy with SNAP.
It's true.
Like I think it's stuff like laundry detergent, hygiene products.
It's true.
Toilet paper products. So things that really are, I don't know not sure how you get by without toilet paper, although we came close to having to find out last March, but we didn't. But I mean, so there are some real essential needs that you can't buy with SNAP, and that's a hard thing, I think.
Absolutely. Thank you for naming that, Angela.
That's one of the things that we try to bring to food pantries because, people can't use their SNAP.
Absolutely. And Barbie just put in there too, feminine products, diapers, soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, cleaning supplies, all of this is, and we don't think about this ourselves. So some social implications with all of this that people with low access deal with. It can affect their learning capabilities for children and adults when they cannot have the proper nutrition. And in 2 weeks, which will be our last night of the class, Charles is going to be our guest speaker. He has done a dissertation and has worked a lot with the intersectionality of low income and education and how it affects the children.
Mhm.
So it's huge. So stay tuned for that. Come back for that class. Less productivity in their lives. And then when you're not getting enough protein and you don't have enough nutrition, it's really hard to be productive. And so think about people who really do want to work and they're at work and they cannot have as much productivity and they're tired and they're sluggish. We all know what that's like. Also, with food insecurity and not having proper nutrition, there's more healthcare needs. They're going to have more problems with their health, and that's more expense. And so there's another vicious circle happening. These people also have more intensified feeling of exclusion and powerlessness in their lives, really not feeling like they have much power and much control and feeling very excluded, which then in turn really affects their social life, having a healthy balance in their life and being social. Also, another social implication that honestly I had not thought about, and this is the last one I'll give you, is passing on knowledge to their next generation. Poor nutrition also affects capabilities for learning, also retaining things in their mind. So when they're already feeling all of these things that I just told you, I guess that affects passing knowledge on to their next generation. It's like it's carrying on to the next generation. Does that make sense? And Jeff, okay, thank you so much for hopping on here with us. I'm sorry you have to leave, but thank you so much for being a part of this. All right, so I would like to ask, we're going to come to a close. I really want to be mindful of the time, of everybody's time, just because I'm so appreciative that you're here. What are some takeaways that have been big for you? Were there any aha moments tonight from everything that was presented, from Barbie, from any information, from anything anybody else has said? Charles, would you like to start?
Honestly, I'm just back to thinking about things like can openers and tools that, we don't even think about people that don't have the ability to prepare food, even if it gets donated to someplace like Trinity Food Ministry or some other pantry. It's kind of, that was an eye opener for me. I hadn't even thought about that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think what Barbie said about the relationship thing,
Yes.
right, for me that was very important.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, Scott. I think that's gosh, how many things doesn't that help with if we have relationship with our neighbors or people we're helping or want to help? And if we don't ever ask, we don't ever build that relationship, then we're in trouble.
I think for the time that I've been at St. Paul's, I've definitely seen a lot of great things that are happening in the community of Carondelet when it comes to food insecurity. But But I think for me, a big takeaway is how much bigger can we dream?
Amen.
And even when something is going so well, there's still like we can still dream bigger. So I think that for me, Barbie, did you have something you wanted to say?
Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine, please.
When you are done, I have a story, a funny story about relationship. And it was just added to today. So there's this little bitty teeny tiny woman. She probably weighs 90 pounds soaking wet. We thought she was homeless for the longest time. I found out during the polar vortex that she wasn't, that she does have a place to get in out of the weather. But she's got this one really long dread. I mean, it's this big around, and it's all her hair. She's always got on a hat. She's always got on a coat. She always pulls a suitcase with her. And she looks like, I mean, if anybody says anything to her, she'll turn around and she'll stare at you. And I mean like daggers. And so she's got this reputation, even the big guys, nobody messes with her because she looks a little bit scary. She may only be 5 foot tall, but she could come up really quick with an undercut and get you. so she was really a little bit irascible and easily offended. And so I started thinking, all right, I'm going to just find out things that I can give her that will, try to get some response out of her. And so now we have this thing where we work really hard to get her to laugh because she's got a pretty little laugh. And it's just really kind of unexpected when it happens all the time. All of a sudden, I gave her this, I've given her different little things that we get from Whole Foods, whether it's a lunch bag or whatever, or just a special bag for her to carry cold things in. And I try to make sure that I always have, she likes Belvita crackers and she likes chocolate. So I always try to have one of those things. And that always makes her laugh. Well, I never have asked her name because, like I said, she's a little bit scary and I only push it so far, right? So today, Wes was helping. He was right there at the door with me and he said, "What's your name?" And I thought, "Oh, dude, man, you're about to get hurt." And she turned around and she looked at him like, "What'd you say, boy?" And he said it again, and totally unaware, I believe. But he asked her, he said, "What's your name?" And so finally she said, "Janie." And he said, "Janie?" And she said, "Jeannie." And he said, "Jeannie?" And he said, "Jeannie, my name is Wes." And she looked up at him and she said, "Wes?" And she started laughing. She said, "Wes." And it was this funny thing. And you really have to have seen her and known the persona that this 80 pounds of her gives off. I mean, she's like a chihuahua, she'll just.
That's funny.
Anyway, she laughed today when Wes asked her name, and it was all about that relationship thing, And so we work to try to get to elicit a smile out of her or a conversation. She talks more now than she ever did before, and it's just really kind of fun. And it makes us feel good.
That's a great story. Thank you so much. Wow. I wanted to have Angela's voice heard. She was saying that the 2-hour limit bus pass that you were talking about, Barbie, was something that was really like an aha moment for her to think about.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and one that I was very ignorant about because people would come up, they'd come rushing up to, "I need to hurry. Can you hurry up and give me what I need?" But it's like, me and my arrogance, I'm like, "Okay, well, can you just slow down? Just hold on a minute. I'll get to you as fast as I can." "Oh, no, I can't. I'm waiting on the bus. I'll miss the bus." And what it was, and it took me, sadly, a while to realize what it was, that meant they would have to spend another $2. And I had one of the guys that I had actually built a relationship with, who he explained it to me. He said that, you know, they're gonna have to buy another bus ticket because it's gonna expire. So
Wow.
anyway,
Crazy.
makes a difference.
Sue, I didn't know if I don't want to, I'm not meaning to call you out, but I didn't know if you would have anything that you wanted to say. I just wanted to honor your voice. You do not have to, no worries. But you are loved. All right, well, we are coming to an end. I have thoroughly enjoyed this class, and Barbie, what an honor to have you as a guest.
Oh.
Thank you so much. You were
It's an
just
honor.
full of information. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
And Rebecca, would it be okay if I asked you to pray us out tonight? Or did I catch you eating?
I swallow.
Swallowed the
Pray.
kale.
Right. Gracious God, we bless you and thank you that you are a relational God, that all of the ways in which you have expressed yourself to us require a connectedness that brings life. And we pray that we would be inspired by what we've learned, not to be discouraged and overwhelmed, but to indeed see the small ways in which the little things we do can make a difference in each other's lives. We pray we would go from here with a clearer sense of how to do that, and that you will bless us as we go in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. So one more thing. Next week, same time, same place, we will continue this conversation talking about healthcare, polarization, and how that intersects with low income, low access of food insecurity as well. So please come back and we will have that conversation. It's going to be very interesting. So it's bringing everything around full circle from the first class to the last class. So thank you all very much for your time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Night, everyone.
Bye night.